Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Why is the federal government trying to circumvent our own laws when it comes to illegal immigration and border crossing? There's a scathing report in Polizat right now. It talks about this issue. Guys, we're looking at between 500 and 800 people crossing the border illegally every day. Catch and release program is what they're calling it. I'm joined in studio now by Leanne McAdoo and Owen Schroyer. We're going to be discussing this. So this report comes out, but very little is done about it. It is remarkable. 500 to 800 people catch and release. They're comparing it to a speeding ticket. That's what's happening. Ticket, goodbye.
Well, and the crazy thing is, we're talking about complete lawlessness here, right? We're talking about, are the Russians, somehow getting into our elections, but we've got immigrants coming in interfering with our elections. We've got the Democratic Party caught interfering with elections. So we just completely ignore the law when it comes to domestic interference. But for some reason, with yet any evidence from our government, we're supposed to be worried about Russia interfering with our elections. It's very strange to talk about all this lawlessness and completely ignore it.
Right. And of course, anytime you bring it up, you're immediately chastised. And how can you be racist or xenophobic against this? And America is a country built on immigrants. And that's not what this is about. This is about illegal immigration. And there is a concerted effort to get as many people in this country to vote Democratic as possible. This is a pet project for a lot of these people. They want to come in and get this DACA passed. And that's all they care about. And just making sure that they're going to continue to get those Democratic handouts.
You mentioned the lawbreakers and the people in power, like Hillary Clinton right now, who want to legalize, just rubber stamp this through. We've heard it called the DREAM Act, through Congress. They keep renaming it. But the bottom line is we're talking about 11 plus million people that have entered the country illegally that are taking advantage of services, of our educational system. I was looking at the numbers here. 95,000 illegal immigrant children flood into U.S. schools last year alone. And we're responsible for putting them through school, for feeding them, for housing them. Not to mention, and Trump highlighted this, we know how that turned out. He was called a racist bigot. 7,500 deaths at the hands of illegals each and every year in this country. Law-abiding citizens are killed by illegal aliens. Many of those, of course, are driving related. They're accidents, but nonetheless, it seems to be the wild, wild west when it comes to this dirty little secret that we have. Nobody wants to talk about it. And yet Democrats, they just want to rubber stamp it on through.
And you talk about the illegals that are coming here from across the border, but we've got actual moms in the United States illegally giving birth to 275,000 babies. That was just in 2014 alone. Don't you need an ID? Don't you need some sort of a proof to go through this process? Isn't there something along the way that can catch these people? I don't want to sit here and try to make it harder on a mom to have a kid, but we're talking about the law here. And there's another industry that's booming right now, and that's the illegal smuggling industry. And now the smugglers are telling the illegal people crossing the border that if Hillary Clinton gets elected, that there'll be some sort of amnesty and they need to get here by a certain date. And on the reverse end, they're saying that if they don't, and Trump gets in, there's going to be a magic wall that gets built the next day. So basically, these smugglers are taking advantage of this opportunity,
right,
scaring people into wanting to come here before either Trump builds a wall or stops the Hillary Clinton amnesty program, which is a reason why they want to come here and get a right to vote.
Right, that there was this message being put out there that they had to get here before a certain cutoff time because Obama was going to give them this amnesty. Now they're saying definitely you got to get here before the election. And of course, President Obama has tried to really push back against that rhetoric and put the message out there. This will only apply to people who have been in the country since X date, not if you just got here yesterday. It only goes back so far, but that message isn't getting across to people. They really, truly feel they can come here and just say papers and they're free to stay.
You mentioned the birther citizen aspect of having a child here. We know that through our Constitution, through our laws, they're taking advantage of them. If you have a child on U.S. soil, it's a citizen by birth. So even if you're born to an illegal mom, that citizen becomes, totally rubber stamped, has every right that you and I have. And for that matter, it looks like, doing the research here, the illegal has every right that you and I have. They're protected in our laws. There was a case coming out of Nashville where an illegal alien had a baby in a hospital, and ICE went to the hospital to apprehend her. She ended up suing the city and obtaining an insane amount of money because of the way that she was handled. We have sanctuary cities. This is a real thing here, and it's really bankrupting our system.
Well, and in some cases, I think that you could make the case that illegal immigrants get more rights than citizens, even, or a more lenient law, justice, if you will.
Under this catch and release, there were cases where drunk driving incidents. There was one coming out of California where a man actually hit someone. He was drunk driving. He was immediately released. Serial drunk driver. He'd hit a number of people. You're absolutely right. If that had been a U.S. citizen, he would have gone through the process of law. But it seems to be this black hole where we're not really sure what to do. It's a catch and release. That's what this article is calling it. That's what it
They
says.
can make the excuse that they don't understand our legal system here. Maybe they're allowed to have a certain amount of drinks before they go driving. And so here it's a little bit different. But just to kind of give you an idea of how in line these people that are coming here illegally, the lawbreakers, these are criminals, how they're in line with the Democratic Party. We have illegal immigrants actually going door to door on behalf of Hillary Clinton. So they can't vote because they're here illegally, but they're going to get out the vote and get people to sign up. And they're putting out this rhetoric that if we don't get DACA passed, then Donald Trump is going to round everybody up, FEMA camp style, and ship out their families.
And we've seen in the Project Veritas video, too, that the Democratic Party is open to working with people to get illegal immigrants jobs, get them IDs, and then get them into the voting booth.
Right. People are even saying, though, Democrats are saying, I should say, that if you're asking for an ID at a polling station, you're a racist. You're not allowed to do that. IDs are racist. Don't you dare do that to be able to prove that you're an actual citizen. And we know that they're gaming the system. They have a group of people. They need their votes, and they're doing it by any means necessary, and they're breaking all of our laws in the meantime. It's really upsetting to me because I know what it's doing to our system, and we don't have the resources for this, and yet we're doing it anyway.
Right, and that's what a lot of the things that they're pushing back against with Obamacare. People are seeing massive rise in the price of their premiums, and this is because there's so many people, that are very sick on the systems. Healthy people aren't opting in, but so many people that are getting government assistance. Who are these people that aren't buying into the system, paying into the system?
Well, and Trump has come a long way talking about the wall. A lot of people love the wall. We hear people chanting, build that wall. But think about this. You alluded to this earlier. Data showed that in 2014, 7% of all births were to illegal parents. Okay, now, as you said, these are legal citizens. That is the law. So these are technically Americans. So what can you do? What kind of laws can you make to try to avoid this? Well, you say, okay, look, we hate to do this to you, but we're not in a moral industry here. We're in politics and law and justice. And guess what? You had this child here illegally, and we're going to have to go ahead and deport you. Now, your child is American. Your child can stay. But unfortunately, because you broke the law, you're going to have to face the justice of being separated from your child. I have a feeling that we might have a different number than 7% born to illegal parents. And it goes on to say, the guy who broke this big story talking about Border Patrol agents treating it like a traffic ticket when they catch illegal immigrants, Cabrera, on a CBS News interview, Border Patrol agent Chris Cabrera also said, years ago, they did expedited removal where people were sent back to their country within 3 days of crossing our border. And he said, you wouldn't believe how quickly the illegal immigrants dried up on the border. That's all you need is a little law, a little justice, and then actually allowing the agents to execute the law instead of just claiming, I don't know, I guess racism, don't write them a ticket, I don't understand, we need these voters, I don't know how they're getting away with it.
I don't even know why we have the ticket system. I mean, catch and release, doesn't that seem a little bit redundant? Why do we even ticket? Why don't we just, we should be there with snacks and water and a map, literally, and translators at this point, because that's how ridiculous this is. That's how far we've come. Seriously.
Well, they've already got that. They come and say, oh, I got a cousin in Boston. They'll bus you up to Boston. You know what I'm thinking? I'm going to go across the border as Jorge Posada and say I've got a cousin in Hawaii. I think I'm moving to Hawaii, guys. How about that?
I think you can. I've actually looked into buying property and stuff in Mexico, and it's much more difficult as an American citizen to go into Mexico. You have to have like $30,000 in your bank account. You have to be able to add to their economy, to their system. Right. So it's just insane the way we do things here.
Wait a second. They have laws that we have to abide by? No. Why? We have to prove that we can contribute to society?
The double standards are absurd,
Seriously. Just one quick point. If they're taking advantage of this system, can you imagine, we've heard this before, other groups that understand how soft and porous our border is, they're going to do the same thing as well if we don't get a handle on this soon. Well, 12 days ahead of an election, it's going to be really interesting how this issue turns out. I'm joined in studio by Leanne McAdoo and Owen Schroyer.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.